My name is Danya. I'm 39 years old and I live in California.
Okay, Danya, in what way has the pandemic changed your outlook on your life, in your personal life, professional life, and educational goals?
I feel like I've been on an ever expanding journey of discovering what health truly looks like for about the past 12 years. It's been a very personal journey that stemmed from witnessing the way my parents and other family members struggled with their health. I'm always educating myself and researching, but over the past 20 months of living through this pandemic, I feel like a veil has been ripped from my eyes, and I'm seeing clearly for the first time. I've had to dive deep and think really critically about what true health is versus what has been presented to me as health my entire life. So much so that I'm having to re-examine what field of work I want to be in now. I've worked in the medical field my whole adult life. My goal was to eventually earn my RN license. I don't know if I want that anymore. I don't think I do because I don't think I can. I don't think I can be a part of the broken system our society has labeled as healthcare because it isn't. It's a system of stabilizing sick people and putting them on medications for the rest of their lives without ever attacking the root cause of so many illnesses that can be cured. I want to be a part of the true healthcare.
And have the people that you spend time with changed because of the pandemic?
It has, and it breaks my heart. The media has done an excellent job of presenting to the public a narrative that makes many people believe that one group is more responsible and compassionate towards their fellow man than the other. Not everyone buys into that notion, but many have because the media has also done an excellent job of injecting a tremendous amount of fear into people. I feel like my family has become divided in many ways. It is the elephant in the room that is more like a fierce lion that no one dare address, but it is felt by everyone. My husband, son, and I have chosen not to vaccinate. There is a portion of our family who has never come out and said anything to us, but have slowly cut us out of get-togethers as well as conversation threads and tend to not come around events we are at. Whether intentional or done subconsciously, it's a heavy shadow we have felt more and more as time goes by.
Has the pandemic changed the way that you connect with your friends, family, or community?
For a while it did. At the height of the pandemic, when no one really knew what this thing was or how to combat it, we were very fearful. I was pregnant and on leave from work. I didn't go anywhere other than my doctor's appointments and the grocery store. When I did go see my parents, I wore a mask. If they had been around anyone that wasn't feeling well, I would panic at the thought of them coming down with COVID and myself being exposed if I had also been around them before knowing they had been around someone who felt sick. I didn't want my husband going anywhere other than work. It was a miserable, terrifying mental state to be in. Over time, I started researching and digging, and my eyes slowly began to open. Once I realized that all the fear around COVID was due to what was being fed to us by the powers that be and the media, and wasn't necessarily an accurate representation of what was true, I became more confident in just living my life again. I had to dig myself out of that hole of fear that our government and the media presented to all of us. Now I'll go visit my parents and go to the gym and wherever else I want without any fear at all. I've gotten COVID. It was scary getting it and not knowing what to expect, but I survived it just fine. It certainly wasn't pleasant, but I've had flus that were way worse. I now know what I need to do to nourish my body in order for it to protect itself and how to confront COVID if I'm ever presented with it again. So now I just live my life like I please.
Okay. And what role has social media and the news coverage played in your experience during this pandemic?
I touched on this a little already. At first I was consumed with fear by all the news reports of overcrowded hospitals, no available beds or ventilators. People seemed to be dropping like flies. That's all that was ever being reported to us. People were going into hospitals and not coming back out. Terrible outcomes with no real information as to how we were supposed to protect ourselves besides isolating ourselves from everyone we possibly could, hide in our homes and wear a mask anytime we had to leave. It just didn't add up to me. People's mental health were deteriorating from being isolated from those that they love, not going out in the sun, not getting exercise, and constantly being fed fear. Every single one of those things listed deteriorate a person's health and make them more susceptible to disease. Something deep inside didn't feel right. I began researching in any way I could, looking for differing opinions. I found many doctors and scientists who spoke out against what was constantly being aired in mainstream media. I found these outliers on social media and absorbed whatever information I could find. Not the opinions of someone I knew or my local health net, but real professionals who seemed to be being censored. Then their censorship became more apparent. They were being stripped of their licenses, deleted by social media platforms. Medications they suggested were being pulled out of pharmacies by the government and made impossible for doctors to prescribe. Why though? That's for another discussion, but it became more and more apparent to me that our health was truly at stake, but not for the reasons we all thought.
And how do you think that this pandemic has shaped you as an individual? Who was Danya before 2020 and now? What has changed?
I think living through this pandemic has made me a much braver person than I thought I could be. It takes a certain degree of bravery to go confidently against what government, a large majority of the healthcare system, CDC, FDA, and a large portion of society are all telling you should do and not waver. It takes further bravery to actually let people know your stance and try to put differing education on your own social media page to try to make available to people you love information that is hard to find currently. Some appreciate it and send love. Others draw a line and segregate you and call you crazy. In many ways, it has also made me angry and bitter. To the very heart of me, that's not who I am. And I'm trying to heal from that part of me that has formed. I honestly don't know if I'll ever stop being angry. I gave a little insight as to why. I mentioned earlier that I was pregnant at the height of the pandemic. Sorry. At a few days short of 24 weeks, my water partially ruptured and I began to leak amniotic fluid. My doctors put me on bed rest and told me to monitor myself for fever and sent me home to try to get through the weekend. The thought was that if I could make it a few days till the 24-week mark, they would discuss admitting me and start medications to progress the baby's lung development and try to keep me pregnant for as long as possible. But I didn't make it through the weekend. I started running a low-grade fever, so that we went to the emergency room and the OB on call told me I had developed an infection and our only option was to induce me. At this point, it was a matter of saving my life. This hospital that we went to had no NICU. I begged her to see if there was a hospital with a NICU that would take me. She made the call, but I wouldn't be taken because I was running a fever and therefore was a risk. I was a risk to them because of COVID. I was induced, gave birth, and held my baby till his heart stopped beating. I don't think I'll ever stop being angry that we never had a chance to even try to save him. That's how the pandemic has changed me.
This was a very raw interview, and I want to thank you for being so vulnerable. And I just have to share that you are, and I've said this to you before, one of the strongest people that I know, and I love you. And no matter what happens, and the segregation that's happened in our family and the separation. I'm always here for you, and you're always welcome in our home. Love you.